Hey everybody, today I'm going to be talking about this $50 Bishop wand knockoff that I got off of AliExpress, and I will be comparing it to the real thing. A subscriber recommended that I try this machine out, and they claimed that it was as good as the real thing. So naturally, I told them to send the link over, and a couple weeks later, after I ordered it, this little guy showed up. My first impressions of this machine when I first opened the box actually was a little bit of laughter because on the actual machine, instead of saying Bishop, it just says hello. Other than that, the actual build is almost identical to the actual Bishop wand with just a few little differences. The RCA is recessed instead of poking out of the top, which I actually like better. Also, instead of the grip being a smooth turn, the knockoff has a click grip. After removing the grip, you can see that the body of the machine is cut slightly differently, which unfortunately means that the Bishop disposable grips won't work on this machine. The top of the machine screws off just the same as the original did. I did try to swap out the fake and the original motors, but the threading is different, so that did not work. The size of the motor is noticeably different. The knockoff has a coreless motor and the Bishop has a brushless Faulhaber motor. The knockoff has a 4mm stroke and the Bishop liner has a 5mm stroke. I only noticed the stroke length after I bought the machine. I thought when I bought it that the knockoff was also a 5mm stroke. Even though the knockoff has 3 different colors available, just like the Bishop, all 3 have a 4mm stroke. So don't go buying all 3 colors thinking that you're gonna have a full set of different stroke machines. And yes, this comparison would be more fair if I had the Bishop wand packer, since that one does have a 4.2mm stroke, but I have the liner and I'm not going out to buy a packer just to compare it to this knockoff. Moving on to some specs. The AliExpress listing is very unclear when it comes to the strength of the knockoff's motor. The one slide of the advertisement says that it is a 9-volt, 12,000 RPM motor with a working range between 7 and 9 volts. Then the next slide says it's a 9-volt, 10,800 RPM motor with a working range between 6 and 8 volts. Then in the description of the listing, it says that it's a 9-volt, 11,000 RPM motor. So, who knows? Moving on to noise and vibration, first I'll show you the real one, and then I'll show you the knockoff. Both are going to be at 7 volts. The vibration of the knockoff is significantly less than the real Bishop wand, but that has to do with the motor strength and also the stroke length. But overall, both are low in noise and vibration. As you all know, I like to use the critical universal batteries on all of my machines basically to make them wireless, but if you put it on the knockoff, it is a little bit shorter than the original wand just because of the recessed RCA, which I do like how it's a little bit smaller. That's kind of cool. Holding both with my eyes closed though, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between these two. When it comes to bagging up this machine, it's the same as the original with just a little twist. Before I slide the machine down the clipcord cover, I wrap a rubber band around the grip so the plastic has something to grip onto while I'm trying to change the needle depth. If you don't do this, the plastic just kind of slides around on the grip and it's difficult to change the needle depth. The click grip makes things a little bit more difficult when you're trying to rotate it. So I'm definitely a bigger fan of the real wand when it comes to the smooth grip for that reason. So now all of that is out of the way. What everybody wants to know, is it good for lining? Is it good for shading? What style of tattooing is it best for? And should you buy this machine? Let's start off with lining. Going up against the wand liner, this knockoff has definitely held its own when it comes to lining, even with the shorter stroke and the unclear power of the motor. All the way from fine liners to bold liners, the knockoff did a great job. In a lot of circumstances, I actually found myself preferring the knockoff over the real wand. The knockoff delivered a powerful and consistent hit, and I was able to get consistent one-pass lines with it. When using the real wand liner, you have to be really careful when using anything from like a 3 liner to a 7, just because of the powerful 5mm stroke. Even though the knockoff did well with all types of liners, the Bishop wand liner with the 5mm stroke, when you get to the really large liners like a 24 round shader or something like that, obviously that is going to be better at pushing it since it does have more power. Next up, is it good for shading and color packing? Once again, the knockoff did really well in this department, and I did end up preferring the knockoff over the real wand liner. I do a lot of whip shading with a tight 3 liner, and one of my biggest complaints about the wand liner with the 5mm stroke is that it runs a little bit too fast, even at its lowest speeds, for me to comfortably do my whip shading. The knockoff, on the other hand, handled my tight 3 shading with ease. Now, I think this is a case where if I were to compare the knockoff to the wand packer, this would have been a much more fair unfair comparison just because the wand packer has a 4.2 millimeter stroke and the knockoff has the 4 millimeter stroke. So I wouldn't really knock off points of the wand liner just because this isn't what it's really specialized to do. Now with color packing and solid black, I definitely preferred the knockoff over the wand liner just because of the 5 millimeter stroke. Again, it can chew up the skin if you're not careful, and also it puts your client in more pain than they need to be. The 4 millimeter stroke is just better for color packing and shading. When it comes to what style is the knockoff best for, I ended up doing everything. I did lining, shading, color packing, and it didn't struggle with any of it. The wand liner is a very specialized machine. I only really use it for lining and dot work. Sometimes I'll use it for solid black in smaller areas, but never large areas. Overall, I do think that this knockoff is a really good buy for $50. Now, after saying all of that, I wouldn't buy this as my one and only machine I have in my drawer, just because I don't know how long this motor will last. But I guess that you can buy 2 or 3 of them and spend like $100 or $150, and when one breaks, you can swap it out for the next one. And at the end of the day, you're still saving money. Even after this test, I'm gonna still be using this machine because I really did enjoy using it. And now instead of eventually buying a wand packer, I just have my knockoff 4 millimeter wand. Even after saying all these positive things about this knockoff machine, I still recommend everybody to, and I will still be buying from big name brand companies just because you know the quality that you're getting, and also they stand behind their products. You're able to send it in if it ever needs to be serviced. With these knockoff brands, I don't even know if I'd be able to get in contact with the company if something were to break. So those are my thoughts. My experience pleasantly surprised me, and thank you to the subscriber who recommended this machine. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I hope this video was helpful to you, and I hope that you have a good day.